Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I greet you all according to your time and locations you'll be watching this video. Yes, my dear viewers, I am back again with another update. So guys, I have a video here I would like we all to watch. But before then, if you're meeting my channel for the very first time, you're highly welcome. Please kindly do well to like, share and subscribe. Leave your thought on the comment section and let us know what you think about this video. And I will see you towards the end.
Have trailed the Senate's approval of a request by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to borrow $800 million from the World Bank to help cushion the impact of the subsidy removal, while the loan, which had previously been approved by the government of former President Muhammadu Buhari to help scale up the National Social Safety Net program, had been a subject of controversy. Well, Tinubu, in a letter to the lawmakers, said the purpose of the facility is to expand coverage of shock-responsive safety net support among poor and vulnerable Nigerians, adding that 12 million poor households will be paid 8,000 naira per month for 6 months, with a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals. Well, let's take some reactions. This is from KSO, who wrote, "In light of President Bola Tinubu's statement regarding the transfer of funds to 12 million poor and low-income households, there is a valid concern about ensuring accurate targeting and preventing the money from reaching those who do not require it. It is crucial for the Nigerian government to clarify the modalities used to determine the eligibility of these households." Well, you know that the House of Representatives also approved Tinubu's request to amend the 2022 supplementary budget of 819.5 billion naira so as to allow the government to spend 500 billion naira to cushion the effects of the fuel subsidy removal. Well, these changes will allow the government to redirect spending previously budgeted for other projects. Well, I'd like to just touch on a lot of issues here, Dr. Abati. If you recall, we took this story yesterday and we talked about the fact that that $800 million had not been approved. And we see that NAS has, like you said, speedily approved that loan only just yesterday. But a lot of questions are raised. I believe that when the finance minister talked about this budget, back in April, she talked about 50 million Nigerians. We are seeing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has increased it to about 60 million Nigerians. Now, the question remains, how is this going to be shared? I believe that they talked about the fact that there need to be a cash transfer with mobile wallet. But I did a little bit of research, Dr. Abati, and I believe there was a report from Business Day Africa that I saw last year, which talked about 60 million Nigerians that do not have bank accounts. How is this money going to be shared? I'll take your reaction before I take one more.
Okay, the issue here, which is the issue on the table, is about transparency and accountability. Yeah. Under the Buhari administration, we were told social investment program, we were told the humanitarian and disaster management ministry trying to look out for poor and vulnerable. We were given stories about a certain social register that had over 10 million people. When they increased the number, they talk about
10 million households.
60 million. When they talk about 60 million, they talk about 50 million. They are talking about a knock-on effect based on the calculation that in every household you will have at least 4 persons. But this has been so vague, so opaque, so nebulous, that when any administration comes again and talks about, oh, it will impact about 60 million, people are suspicious. That's one question raised. The second question, if you say you are going to give people 8,000 naira per month, that's about, is it $10 per month? You know, how much impact would that make? Under the Buhari administration, there was some bogus analysis about how there was so much impact on families, but what we remember was the argument and the suspicion about the administration of the cash to the extent that government officials were handling physical cash. President Tinubu has said he will improve upon it. Well, we wait to see it. That's why I said earlier that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. And if you say you are targeting 60 million households, who is going to track that.
That is the question.
And we are over 200 million, we're told. We don't even know how many we are, by the way. And we are told that the population of poor people in this country within the next year will increase by 7.1 million. So what is happening to that social register? Is that social register going to accommodate more people? And we're talking about money here. I've made a point that what the National Assembly has done is to take ownership on behalf of all of us. We are the ones that have endorsed that loan from the World Bank. And then there's another loan from the IMF, which we are also going to endorse, I guess. And then there is a 500 billion naira that the Tinubu administration has asked the House of Reps to approve, which they approved. The speed with which this National Assembly is moving with approvals of requests from the president, I hope it will be a National Assembly that can think. Let it not be that they are just there. Anything that comes, you know, they just look at it and they say, we have approved. They received a letter from the president in the morning. They have approved it before people went for lunch. Did they even take their time to study, to debate?
This is the question.
This is the big problem that we have. And I hope that this will not be a trend whereby the National Assembly will become a department in the executive arm of government. Those are the fears that we have.
Right.
As to the president meeting with APC women, very good. The president in his agenda, in his campaign material, says yes, there will be inclusion and that women will be accommodated. And we would like to see that in real terms. APC women and the president can be triumphant. But he needs to go a step further. I see they are all wearing ashwebi. I hope one of the things that the president can do as leader of the APC going forward is to abolish the women wing of the APC. Women should not belong to any wing where they are known for ashwebi. Have you seen APC men or PDP men wearing ashwebi? It's only the women who are wearing ashwebi. Women should be treated in the political process as equal partners, not as ashwebi wearing wing of the party. I hope that the president will have the courage to eliminate that. Two, I hope that he will also in his cabinet accommodate more women, give them, you know, equal representation. And number three, in the photograph that was taken, I saw the photograph. There was a lady there, you know, who was on a wheelchair. So that again is something that the president has been talking about. I hope that, you know, it will go in that direction and ensure real inclusion. What I don't understand is what Bajabi Amila was doing in that picture. The handlers, look, presidents don't just take pictures. Even those pictures are organized. Bajabi Amila should have been asked to step aside. It was President Tinubu in the midst of APC women. Well, so that we will, this morning we will have been able to say that President Tinubu is blessed among women. So Bajabi Amila, next time the president is taking pictures with women, just stay aside. Go to your office and do your work.
All right.
Putting yourself in
Rufai,
strategic pictures.
More on the breakdown of the approval by the National Assembly. And let me just take one tweet from Nefertiti, who wrote, Tinubu is seeking supplementary budget spending of 819 billion from the National Assembly, while your overfed reps will receive 70 billion as their own palliative. 8,000 naira only will go to Ronu families for 6 months. That's a meager 48,000 naira to beggars. Are you not entertained? Well, let me just give you that breakdown, Rufai, again. If we can pull up that breakdown, it says 500 billion naira for palliatives, 70 billion naira to National Assembly to support the working conditions of new members, 19.2 billion naira for Ministry of Agriculture to address massive destruction to farmlands due to flooding 2022, 35 billion to National Judicial Council, 10 billion to Federal Capital Territory Administration for critical project. I guess that the whole idea everyone is like talking about is that 70 billion as well. But also we saw that the National Assembly had approved this whole, yesterday we talked about this supplementary budget for infrastructure, for these other ideas. So what's going to happen? Now we have $800 million from the World Bank and then additional 500 billion for palliatives. Where do we go from here, Rufai?
If you ask me now, what will ask you? Let's go straight to it.
Yes.
A couple of palliatives have been announced. I just hope this is not fraught in corruption.
This is the question.
Because when you even look at it, let's even go back. That's why the need for data is important. And that's why I will have favored that we had done the census even before the election, before we started with this government. Because you need data to plan. They keep saying 60 million households. How? How did you get 60 million households?
I tried to do that calculation as well.
If you say if our population is 220 million, divided by 5 per household, how many do you get? That's about 55 million households. So, but that data is still suspect. So based on my television data, because this is my forte in media, I know when we benchmark television watching households in Nigeria, there are 30 million television households. So if you get a sizable number, you get, I mean, if you get like 9 million households watch your show, you know you get a sizable number. So how do they even benchmark the data in the first place? Also look at the money the lawmakers are going to get. I tried calculating it. If they are to share that 70 billion naira equally amongst all of them, we have collectively about 472, across both houses. Let's round it up to 500. 500 divided by 70 billion. That's going to give us 140 million for each lawmakers. So 500 people, if they are to share it equally, can receive 140 million. I know they're not going to share it equally. But look at the citizens. 12 million households receive 48,000 across 6 months. So look at the disparity. So the other monies put out there, yeah, I support the one for the 35 billion for National Judicial Council. I support that one. The 10 billion for Federal Capital Territory, yes, I'm happy about that because I was in Abuja over the weekend and guess what? Most of the street lights from the airport were not working down into Abuja town. So maybe they need to do a lot of work as regards that and internally because that's our state, country's capital. The 19.2 billion for Ministry of Agriculture to address massive destruction of farmlands. I support that to do to follow, but how are they going to spend that money? How is it going to trickle down to the basic farmers? Then the 500 billion for the palliative. This time around, they are saying that they're going to use wallets. They've always talked about wallets in the past, like sent by wallets. But how can we effectively authenticate the amount and how much is really going to all of these farmers out there? Personally, I've never been in support of these handouts because they're getting muddled up in Nigeria. I tried doing something on social media, and you might argue that it's not empirical enough. I've asked that people that receive the money, can they come out? But we hardly see most of them. In fact, the office in charge of disbursing this national, register, they send me a message back on Twitter and say, oh, Rufai, there are lots of them, most of them might not be on Twitter. Can we even see some members of these families are receiving this money? Because the last thing we heard was during COVID when the humanitarian minister was sharing money for people in their hands. And you can't be accountable that way. So at first, I can't wait for the census to even start. Let's even have data to work with. There are not enough data sets to work with. Question. So what even makes up these families? Those are the questions we're asking. Now for the lawmakers that want to collect 70 billion, let the poor breathe. Fear God. Fear God.
Absolutely.
Let the poor breathe. People are crying, and you even have the temerity, the infantry, the unmitigated nerve to even put your own money in this while poor people are suffering.
All right.
I yield the floor.
Well, all right. In another development.